Today we have gathered together Seth Demore from 1 Billion Stories and Father Mike Rapp and myself from Catholic Stuff You Should Know. Today we're celebrating our 5-year anniversary, and so we wanted to talk for a few minutes in gratitude for so many people who have supported us along the way, and also a little bit about how all this began. But before that, I want to introduce Father Mike's new haircut, which is a mullet that he got about 3 minutes ago. Seth and the guys have schlepped up 100 pounds of gear to this small hut about 12,000 feet outside of Aspen, Colorado. We've been hanging out here for the last few days, and he's going to be putting together a good documentary on it. This is probably over 1,000 now for you.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Well over 1,000.
We didn't even get to 200 podcasts in the last 5 years, but Seth has been done an amazing work, so we'd like to kick it over to him and hear a little bit about the story.
There we go. Well, it's kind of interesting because a lot of the people on the trip, this hut trip, are from CU. And so, like Shayna Stein, Steve Saya, the man behind the camera, they are the reason why I really started 1 Billion Stories. I was a lukewarm Catholic in high school, and as I entered into college, I was looking for that community and the communio. And of course, I found the first communio in the Eucharist. Once I figured out what the Eucharist actually was, that took a little while. But then I started meeting these other young Catholics that were passionate about the faith after daily Mass at St. Tom's. And so, as I was graduating in 2009, I said, dang, these stories are amazing, but why aren't they being communicated with the world? And so I said, well, I'm going to load up my bicycle, sell my car, and bike across the United States. And so that's what I did.
This is the pre-Bridget days, right?
This is before I was married, before Bridget and the two boys. So December 31st, 2009, which is 5 years ago, the website went live. And as Father John mentioned, we've published, about 1,300 videos now from, 12 different countries. And now we're here at Betty Bear, enjoying this beautiful scenery. So that's a little bit of the background of 1 Billion Stories. But what's interesting is that without communicating at all, 6 days later, Catholic Stuff You Should Know launched, and maybe you guys could tell the backstory as to what was going on in your hearts when you started that.
Yeah, for sure. It's amazing to hear you say 1,300 videos from 12 different countries. We still don't even really know how to publish a podcast, and so. But do you remember the early days of how this got started?
Professional. I mean, we have a lot less in mind. Early on, we just we felt called to spread the gospel. We were studying. We were seminarians. And we were excited by the things we were learning. Lots of different stuff about how incredible, how rich, how old the Catholic Church is, and how many interesting things to run into, like the people in your stories. And so we said, well, this is something that we ought to share. This is something that would be fun to do, and we like to goof around, so we thought we'd try that on the microphone.
That's right. It was such an interesting time because in January of 2010, Pope Benedict asked that technology be used for the new evangelization, and particularly from young people. And so it's just crazy that these two initiatives began so similarly. And I remember hearing about Seth biking out from the Focus Conference, and we had never really met. And Mike and I were kind of cooking up this homegrown project within the seminary, but we had no idea that these would be two initiatives that would be so important to us, and I think important to a lot of other people. I know so many people who have received the fruits from 1 Billion Stories, and well, hopefully a few people are still listening to our podcast as well. Mike did the podcast, Father Mike, did the podcast with us until he got ordained, right?
Yeah, so it's maybe a year and a half.
So about a year and a half together, and then we've had a couple other guys come in, and we want to thank them today. Father Joe Doman did a great job for a number of years, and then Father Nathan Goebel, who is really bitter that he's not a part of this video right now, but there's no way in hell he would have made it up here. It was a long haul, and we love him, but they've done a great job. Father Peter Mussett helped to both of us along the way. My brother Steve jumping in, Mike Humbo early on jumping in on things. So just so many guys and so many friends kind of behind the scenes. I think the biggest thing to close this part, and then we're going to go into some more thanks here, is technology can be used for the new evangelization in the context of that communion, that friendship. And what we hope from 1 Billion Stories and from Catholic Stuff You Should Know is not that we're a bunch of guys who have cool equipment and we like to be heard or make movies, but we want to share the experience of friendship with Christ and then friendship with other. And what's happening in this hut right now, 23 different people from all different walks of life, at all different places in their own spiritual life, are coming together and are uniting in a way. And we hope that through these medias, there'll be a way of sharing in that.
And I want to thank, just along that line, I want to thank all those people who shared the podcast, shared 1 billion stories.
Sure.
You know, these things spread on digital media so easily, but it comes from people being interested, being convicted, and saying, "Hey, I want somebody else to see this." And we've had news of so many graces, so many people coming to the faith, learning about Jesus, becoming comfortable being Catholic for the first time because of it's such a small thing, but. It's just a joy, and I want to thank all the listeners and those people who spread the news.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, it's amazing how 5 years can go quickly. Father Kevin Augustine and Father Peter Mussett were there at the beginning. Like, their stories impacted my story, and so I want to thank them, both of them, but then also everyone that I encountered on the bike ride. I interviewed about 300 people on the bike ride. And so all those people 5 years ago who took me in, fed me, did my laundry, I appreciate it. And I guess in particular, the man behind the camera right now, Steve Saya, was a video missionary. He biked around Ireland for the mission. But then we have a team in the Philippines, Peru, Ecuador, these young Catholics with video production skills that are passionate about the faith. They want to share Christ's love on the digital continent, as Pope Benedict calls it, the digital continent. So just thank you to the team around the world that's taken the time, because it takes time, you know, even though video is different than audio. I mean, it just takes time to get it down. So thank you all, and God bless you. I think
we'll see where this goes in the next 5 years. 5 years ago, you were not married, you had no kids, and we weren't priests, and we're
not as young anymore, and so hopefully we still fall into that category of being able to share the faith on the digital continent.
So we hope for podcast listeners, we hope you guys jump in and get connected with 1 billion stories, and likewise, we'd love it if it bears fruit in your life. But again, thank you on behalf of 1 billion stories, Catholic Stuff You Should Know, to all our listeners, all of our friends. Thanks for a great 5 years. God bless.
Thanks, everybody.